Sure, you could say the punt block is a key play in the game. It was.
It was.
But the signature play of last night's game is the John Elway-esque diving sideways into the end zone. There's a picture of it right there. To effectively win the national championship. That dude's a baller.
The Craig Carton Show. Only on SportsGrid.
I'll tell you what, guys. The insider scam is like the best insider scam in the business of, like, in the history of television. They don't know anything until their phone gets the text message in which the deal is done. Right? We saw this with Quinn Hughes. We were told, he wants to play with his brothers. He wants to play with his brothers. Now they're saying that he wanted to be traded to Detroit. In other words, just say you don't know.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Hold on a second, though. You believe that Mike McDaniel is not head coach caliber?
No.
There's a lot of evidence that says Cliff Kingsbury is not
That's
either.
That's fine that you believe that. But here's the thing.
There's more. Hold on a second.
Hang on, go ahead.
Mike McDaniel has a better resume than Cliff Kingsbury.
He does on paper, but he's not a locker room guy.
Well, is Cliff?
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
Meanwhile, Charlie Baker of the NCAA has planted his flag. He wants to see the end of prediction markets, and of course is a little bit nervous with all of the different stories that we've heard surrounding sports betting allegations of some folks being corrupt out there and maybe some point shaving. It does make some sense here. I just wonder which of the sports betting operators are going to stand with the NCAA.
NewsWire. Only on Sports.
Happy Friday. Welcome to NewsWire here on SportsGrid, getting you ahead of the weekend where we have an AFC and NFC championship to play on Sunday. Of course, we'll have a full preview of the two big games coming up with our very own Joe Pisapia of Fantasy Sports Today. He'll join us, break down some props and players and stats and everything else that you could possibly ask for on this edition of the show. Also, we'll break down the games with former NFL MVP Joe Theismann, who joins us in about an hour from now, so stay on the grid for that. In addition, the latest in the NBA with Coach Young and a whole lot more on this edition of the show. So stay tuned with us. 90 minutes to go. Let's get started and start off with our sports betting story of the day, which comes in favor of the state of Missouri. As of right now, the Gaming Commission has decided, at least for the time being, that the request by the NCAA to prohibit player prop bets and unders and first halves has been officially denied. So as of right now, that's where they stand. If you live in Missouri, you can still make all of these bets. And will this be a landmark across the country? The NCAA wants to start prohibiting certain bets to protect their collegiate athletes. But as of right now, alas, they have not been able to do so. Big story right now by the FBI reporting that they have caught Ryan Wedding. He's a former Olympic snowboarder in Canada, and he was among the FBI's top fugitives. He was on their most wanted list. He faces charges related to multinational drug trafficking and the killing of a federal witness. He was arrested this morning. Authorities had offered a $15 million reward for leading to his arrest. They found him in Mexico. They will extradite him, and Wedding certainly has been a hot topic over the last couple of years for his alleged involvement in drugs and murders and everything else. Okay, brighter days ahead. Let's get to that. The National Football League has a new head coach. It's on the Baltimore Ravens, and his name is Jesse Minter, defensive coordinator, who kind of looks like a Ravens head coach, to be honest with you, right? He succeeds John Harbaugh. He was the Chargers DC. They could potentially be looking for a new DC and a new offensive coordinator if Mike McDaniel decides not to take this job with the Buffalo Bills. If you hadn't heard, McDaniel, former Dolphins head coach, has already accepted the defensive coordinator or the offensive coordinator job with the Chargers, but he may not get that job and end up in Los Angeles. And if he doesn't get the job, it may be because Phillip Rivers got the job in Baltimore. Yes, folks, that Phillip Rivers, according to ESPN, is interviewing for the head coaching gig in Buffalo today. How about that? Of course, he played for the Colts this past season, did Rivers, coming out of retirement. And a big breaking story yesterday in the world of the NFL that pertains to the Colts. The FBI is seeking records and information about Jim Irsay's death. They're investigating the fact that there could have been a doctor involved. His name is Harry Houtunian, a California addiction specialist, with words like ketamine and substance use being involved as they look further into this to see if there was any foul play or mismanagement of Irsay's medicals. National Football League player's lawyer reveals that she was fired in the wake of raising legal concerns. Veteran lawyer who sued the union and top executives last month, according to a court document filed in federal court this week. Heather McPhee, the NFLPA's associate general since 2009, revealed in a court filing that the union fired her on December the 30th. Dismissal came less than 2 weeks after she sued the union and Lloyd Howell Jr. In college football, 12-team playoff does remain for next season. It's official, not expanding to 14 or 16. A couple of wrinkles, most importantly notable, that if Notre Dame finishes in the rankings in the top 12, no matter what, they are in the college football playoff. Can't get bounced by another team like Miami, I suppose. Texas Rangers make a trade yesterday to get a frontline starter. It is Mackenzie Gore. He goes from Washington to Texas. The Nationals get 4 prospects back in return. Gore's done a nice job in Washington the last few years since being traded over by the Padres, and naturally looks like Washington going into a deeper, further rebuild. Last night in the NBA, the Lakers led big over the Clippers. That lead didn't last. Kawhi Leonard leads them back 24 points. Clippers are hot. They've won 7 out of their last 8. This despite Luka's 32 points, 11 rebounds, and 8 assists. 112-104 was the final. And Ty Lue, very appreciative of the big comeback win against their rivals in L.A.
We just got to do a better job of taking care of the basketball. You know, we know they're going to junk the game up. They got down 26, started, blitzing and firing, and we prepared for it, but we just didn't handle it good, And so they got turnovers. It was up 26. LeBron gets offensive rebound, makes a 3. We turn the basketball over, they score again, and then they kind of got momentum just off of our turnovers. But like you said, our guys just, stay in the course and find a way to win the game. And I told them at halftime, we was up 19, but every single game's been this way since I've been here for 6 years. Either they're up big, we're up big, another team comes back and makes a game of it.
Just a poor job of just defensive coverage execution, and then we just didn't trust each other on the offensive end. Not enough passing, and that was a lot of the game. Not enough passing, and that's, I think that's a consistent thing when we don't play well. We don't pass to each other, and we don't execute defensively.
Dallas Mavericks pull off a pretty big upset yesterday. Cooper Flagg had 21 points. As 6.5-point underdogs, the Mavs beat the Warriors outright, 123-115. This despite Steph Curry's 38 points. Naturally, without Jimmy Butler, someone on the Warriors is going to have to score more. Maybe it is Steph Curry in this situation. Jason Kidd gives all the credit for Curry to be one of the first players in NBA history with 10,000 career three-point attempts, but likes the fact that his team beat Curry, even with him blowing up a little bit.
Just composure, taking care of the ball, but defensively understanding. Steph can get going, and he got going up, but I thought the group kept his composure when he went on a little mini run there on the defensive end. And then on the offensive end, I thought we did a good job of executing and sharing the ball. Chrissy was great again tonight. Najee was really, really good tonight, too. So those two kept us together down the stretch, but it's a great team win against a very good team.
Fourth quarter, they got 39 on us. A lot of free throws. I don't know how many, probably 10 or 12. And we got killed on the glass, 54-35. That negated the turnovers that we forced from them. I liked our offensive game. We got a lot of great looks. It just was a night where shots weren't going down, but we did a good job, taking care of the ball and moving the ball. They're rebounding. Their free throws, just too much.
Last night, Philly beat Houston in overtime, 128-122. This despite a big game from the 76ers big man Joel Embiid, who had 32 points, 15 rebounds, and yes, 10 assists, a triple-double for Embiid. But the story in this one was Tyrese Maxey. He had 36 and 10. Maxey said it was a grind in overtime, despite picking up the win.
I think we were just resilient tonight, man. We had to fight through some adversity, like you said. Reed Shepard came in and gave them a big lift, hit some big shots, but, we stayed with it. Yeah, Trendon was a big voice in there just saying 5-minute game. Joel stepped up and said, listen, things happen, let's go get a W. I was kind of like, that shouldn't happen, but, it happened. So, but that was good resilience by us, man. Like, those are tough games to win. You get down, or you go up, you get down, fight all the way back, think you about to win it, basically, and then, got to go to overtime, and we won it, so that was good.
Turnovers, didn't convert some pretty easy shots, some good looks, and then, like I said, let Maxey get to his spots too easily.
How tough is it in a game that goes to overtime to miss 12 free throws?
Yeah, I mean, it's part of the story for sure. I think our defense in the first half wasn't good enough. We got better in the second half, and then, turnovers, miscues on defense, and then the free throws compounded.
Speaking of upsets, another one in the NBA last night. Looks like Minnesota's going through their slump. They've lost 4 games in a row. They were 9.5-point favorites last night and lost to the Chicago Bulls. Final score, 120-115. All right, we got to take a quick timeout. We come back next. Full breakdown of the AFC and NFC championship games. Our very own Joe Pisapia of Fantasy Sports Today and Fantasy Pros weighs in on the games next, right here on this Friday edition of NewsWire. We'll be right back.
Sure, you could say the punt block is a key play in the game. It was.
It was.
But the signature play of last night's game is the John Elway-esque diving sideways into the end zone. There's a picture of it right there.
Yeah.
To effectively win the national championship. That dude's a baller.
The Craig Carton Show. Only on SportsGrid.
I'll tell you what, guys. The insider scam is like the best insider scam in the business of, like, in the history of television. They don't know anything until their phone gets the text message in which the deal is done. Right? We saw this with Quinn Hughes. We were told, oh, he wants to play with his brothers. He wants to play with his brothers. Now they're saying that he wanted to be traded to Detroit. In other words, just say you don't know.
In-game live only on SportsGrid.
Hold on a second, though. You believe that Mike McDaniel is not head coach caliber?
No.
There's a lot of evidence that says Cliff Kingsbury is not
That's
either.
fine that you believe that. But here's the thing.
There's more. Hold on a second.
Hang on, go ahead.
Mike McDaniel has a better resume than Cliff Kingsbury.
He does on paper, but he's not a locker room guy.
Well, is Cliff?
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
Meanwhile, Charlie Baker of the NCAA has planted his flag. He wants to see the end of prediction markets, and of course is a little bit nervous with all of the different stories that we've heard surrounding sports betting allegations of some folks being corrupt out there and maybe some point shaving. It does make some sense here. I just wonder which of the sports betting operators are going to stand with the NCAA.
NewsWire. Only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Make sure you wake up Sunday morning and catch Joe Pisapia and Matt Stryker on Fantasy Sports Today. They have you covered for all of the action in the AFC and NFC championship games, which of course includes the New England Patriots. Who would have thought after that dynastic run with Tom Brady all of those years that it would be the guy who they thought may replace Tom Brady, Jarrett Stidham, playing against him in the AFC championship. This is why these stories write themselves, Joe, don't they?
They do, but man, oh man, people want to run with this story. I have seen more reels this week on my mobile device about Jarrett Stidham and look at this clip against the San Francisco 49ers and all this Jarrett Stidham hype and noise, trying to somehow get us to believe that Jarrett Stidham somehow is special, a guy who hasn't played an entire game this season, right? Hasn't played at all, and now his first game of the year is going to be the AFC Championship game against the Patriots defense. And one of the things I said on last week's show was that as great as the Texans defense is, and it is one of the best, if not the best in the league, the Patriots, when healthy, are right in that same conversation. They went into Buffalo and won. They've held teams, especially when they were healthy, to the lowest amount of rushing yards of any team. And I think what you saw last week was a unit that was kind of disrespected, and in a way, kind of being disrespected again. Yes, Denver's a tough environment. I am going to say that I am on the Denver side with the 4.5 points because I think they're giving up a little bit too many here in this one in terms of the swing of the points because it is a tough environment to play. Denver defense is very good, and Jarrett Stidham will make a couple plays. I'm sure of it.
Sure.
But this New England Patriots defense, I think, has been disrespected. I think they're going into another one where they just hearing about Denver. I think Mike Vrabel and this group is going to be ready to play come Sunday, and I think it's going to be a really exciting game. It's going to be an exciting day of football. But I'm on the Patriots side, of course, to win. But I do think Denver actually is going to keep this one closer, although maybe it might be a little bit more of a garbage time situation, Craig.
Yeah, they're going to have to run the ball and keep the game close to try and kick some last-second field goal in the end. I mean, that's probably the only shot I would think that Denver has to win this game, but I tend to agree. Plus 4.5 is what Joe says. That's the number right now sitting on the FanDuel Sportsbook. The total, by the way, 42.5 for the AFC Championship going into Sunday. What I would also say that has me interested, by the way, just as a side note, Joe, not just New England, but Houston and Seattle. I got to tell you, I think if I want to remind myself in a couple of weeks, I think we're going to get a defensive touchdown in the Super Bowl in 2 weeks. It seems like we've gotten so many defensive touchdowns in the playoffs.
Well, defense wins championships, right? I mean, at the end of the day,
touchdowns are so random, though. But we're getting so many of them, though, on special teams and defense. I mean, you just don't see that often, but we're getting it a lot in this edition of the playoffs. I don't know why. Most conference championship wins in history, by the way. New England has 11, followed by Denver. That's interesting. Dallas with 8, Steelers with 8, 49ers with 8 as well. And certainly the Patriots are going to be one of those teams that could get another one this week if they win, but so could Denver as well. All right, so now let's get to the NFC Championship here. I think your least favorite team, right? The Rams, right? The Rams on the road against the Seattle Seahawks. Seattle minus 2.5, total 46.5 in this game. If New England's playing the best defense in the playoffs, Seattle is just playing the best football in the playoffs, and probably even before that as well. They played twice already. This seems to be a pick'em game. Odds makers are telling us that. If you're laying 2.5 at home, that means there's no home field at all. Honestly, at Lumen Field, I can't believe that, but that's what it is. Do you have a side that you like on this one, Joe?
Yeah, I can believe it, actually, because these teams are very familiar with each other. They're built to play against each other. And I don't want to necessarily take out and take away from what Seattle did last week, because it was an absolute dominating performance against the 49ers, but they dominated the 49ers a couple weeks ago as well in the regular season, right? They have the 49ers number. This is a team literally built to stop this unit, right, of San Francisco. But the Rams have given Seattle a little bit more trouble. And I think when it comes down to coach and quarterback, I'm going to lean towards the Stafford McVay side. You know, when all this stuff started, it was Rams, Patriots for me. That was the Super Bowl that I was going for, and I'm going to stick to it because I'm very close to actually cashing those tickets, and I want to cash those tickets. But I think what also matters the most here is the familiarity also breeds a little bit of contempt. I think the one thing you might do is maybe go toward the under in this game, because I think a lot of people say, oh, all these stars, all this stuff, maybe a little bit more of a scoring bonanza. I think this game plays a lot tighter. It's the third time they're playing each other. The familiarity there is obviously well known, but also the last time these two teams matched up, it was an epic game, right, of some crazy things happening for Seattle to win, and it was still in Seattle for that to happen. So for me, I'm looking at this one, and I'm saying to myself, I'm going to put my stock into Sean McVay. I'm going to put my stock into Matthew Stafford, because those are the guys eventually that will find ways and have the right play calls and have the right moments here in this game that are going to be the difference makers. And I think Seattle, although they've had a fantastic season, that defense is for real, and it's a really tough environment to play in. I think the Rams will just eventually make that one extra play more, and will find a way to get past Seattle and move on. So I'm going to go with two, I guess, road teams to get there. And I will say this too, Craig. Here's some guys, too, to think about. I want to look at R.J. Harvey and the under in his 43.5 rushing yards. RJ Harvey's going to have a really tough time. I think that's too big of a number against that Patriots defense. They were so good against the run all year, again, when Milton Williams was healthy, and he is healthy right now. I would look for Evan Ingram to be active in that game. You get a plus 500 on a touchdown from Evan Ingram. All his props are pretty low. The one thing about Jarrett Stidham is chances are it's going to be a lot of check down stuff, a lot of getting rid of the ball quickly, right? If so, it's going to favor a guy like Ingram, who hasn't really been doing much with Bo Nix, because Bo Nix obviously better at running those progressions. And then when you're looking, obviously, on the other game here with Seattle and Los Angeles, I would be looking at Puka Nacua over 7.5 receptions. I like that prop. I also like Matthew Stafford. You're getting plus 289 for him to throw 3 touchdowns. I think you could see that in this game.
Great stuff. Great props here, Joe. Let's get real quick to the Super Bowl MVP, because obviously there's 4 teams left. You got to pick one out of the 4. I'll give you 7 choices to win Super Bowl MVP right now. Darnold, Stafford, and May are the 3 quarterbacks there. Unbelievable graphic to show Jarrett Stidham as a potential Super Bowl MVP, but here we are. I mean, here we are. Let's be honest. Here we are.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess Puka Nacua kind of interesting there, right? I mean, I don't know. Do you like anyone?
Yeah, I like Drake May because I think Stafford's going to get the MVP for it's like his Al Pacino Scent of a Woman Oscar, right? You know, should Al Pacino have won before? Yeah, probably. But you want to give him one before he's kind of on his way out. And no one has won the MVP and the Super Bowl since 1999, Kurt Warner. So that's a fun stat for you. So when Matthew Stafford wins that MVP, give me Drake May, Super Bowl MVP.
All right, great stuff, Joe. We'll see you Sunday here on Fantasy Sports Today. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
We'll be right back. Don't go away.
Sure, you could say the punt block is a key play in the game. It was.
It was.
But the signature play of last night's game is the John Elway-esque diving sideways into the end zone. There's a picture of it right there.
Yeah.
To effectively win the national championship. That dude's a baller.
The Craig Carton Show. Only on SportsGrid.
I'll tell you what, guys. The insider scam is like the best insider scam in the business of, like, in the history of television. They don't know anything until their phone gets the text message in which the deal is done, right? We saw this with Quinn Hughes. We were told, he wants to play with his brothers. He wants to play with his brothers. Now they're saying that he wanted to be traded to Detroit. In other words, just say you don't know.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Hold on a second, though. You believe that Mike McDaniel is not head coach caliber?
No.
There's a lot of evidence that says Cliff Kingsbury is not
That's
either.
fine that you believe that. But here's the thing. There's
more. Hold on a second.
Hang on, go ahead.
Mike McDaniel has a better resume than Cliff Kingsbury.
He does on paper, but he's not a locker room guy.
Well, is Cliff?
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
Meanwhile, Charlie Baker of the NCAA has planted his flag. He wants to see the end of prediction markets, and of course is a little bit nervous with all of the different stories that we've heard surrounding sports betting allegations of some folks being corrupt out there and maybe some point shaving. It does make some sense here. I just wonder which of the sports betting operators are going to stand with the NCAA.
NewsWire. Only on SportsGrid.
Get a lot of preview this weekend of the big games coming up on Sunday, because not only just here with us, but Gabe and all of the great programming on Saturday and Sunday morning. Plenty of preview to go here for the AFC and NFC Championship, but it's our last time here on NewsWire checking in with you and previewing the game before the big games on Sunday. We'll know who the Super Bowl is on Monday. All right, let's get a preview. Time now for the SportsGrid Sound Off. All right, we'll start off with the NFC Championship. We've got the NFC favorite. That is the Seattle Seahawks are playing at Lumen Field on Sunday night. They're 2.5-point favorites. If they win, they go back to the Super Bowl. But, of course, the story of all of this game between the Rams and Seattle has just been the fact that these teams know each other. They have played each other. They've played close games against each other. And Mike Macdonald probably has looked at more film of the Rams this year than any other team in the National Football League, but that doesn't change his approach on what goes into this week's game.
I felt like we've been on point sometimes, and not so much, especially the second game. But look, you got to tip your captain. They played a great game. Stafford played a tremendous game. I mean, Puka obviously had a great game the second game, and they did what they did to put up all the yards and points that they did, and we got to figure out a way to stop them this time. And as a team, I'm proud of the way that we figured out a way to win the game, given what happened on defense.
Yeah, obviously third time playing these guys. Really good team, right? Really good defense, really good scheme, good players. So like always, man, we're really excited about this opportunity to play these guys. And we just got to have a really good week of practice. For me, I got to continue to attack all the things that I need to attack. Just getting ready, like I said, getting ready to play these guys, but also just getting my body right. Get my body right to be ready for Sunday.
I mean, I think it's definitely a challenge. We're in the playoffs. Like, every team is good at this point. They've clearly showed that they have a good offense. But at the same time, I trust our team. That's the last team we played. We had a bye week. We had multiple weeks to study them, and we're still trying to find even more nuggets to play faster.
Meanwhile, Sean McVay sits on the other side of the field from Mike Macdonald, Sam Darnold, Leonard Williams, and everybody else. McVay, of course, no stranger to having to play other teams during the regular season. I mean, they have played Seattle. They've played San Francisco. McVay was asked very specifically on playing a team for the third straight time and whether or not his team can potentially learn some things from what they've seen.
I think each game is its own separate entity. I think you got to be totally present. You got to play your best in those 3.5-hour windows. There's a lot of reasons for either or. Matthew did a great job early, I thought, in both games, and give them credit. It was unique where we just didn't have a lot of snaps off in that first game. But they are excellent defensively, and so we know we have tremendous respect for this group. We know what it's going to take, and those games, you use them as inventory, like what Gerard was just asking, but every single play and every single game is its unique own entity, and we got to be able to handle that accordingly.
Yeah, I mean, I think once you get out there, we got to go out there and play like we always do, right? Try to play fast, try to play physical, play aggressive, and we got to go execute. That's what it's going to take. You're going up against a great defense, in their home environment where it's really difficult to play, and we've done it. A couple times already this year, played these guys, and I'm sure they'll have something different for us, like it always is the case. But how do we adapt? How do we continue to execute and play at a high level, and go out there and see what happens?
It's not. I've been here quite a few times, and I think I've made mention to you guys a few times, like, forgive me if I'm not smiling ear to ear after the first win or the second win. Just haven't been here so many times, and understanding exactly what it takes to, get where we're ultimately trying to go. So it's obviously exciting to achieve, the minor goals along the way that you ultimately need to do to get where you want to be. But it just feels like almost like a mythical thing to me at this point. Like, you do everything you can to get there, and it's been so hard and been working so hard at it. So we're close. We just got to finish it out.
And by the way, the look-ahead lines are pretty staggering if either the Rams or Seahawks advance to the Super Bowl to play against the Denver Broncos. In fact, FanDuel Sportsbook has posted some look-ahead odds, which essentially have, regardless of the outcome, which is interesting because we haven't seen New England play Denver yet. We haven't seen Jarrett Stidham play yet. But if you think that Denver's getting to the Super Bowl and you like Seattle or the Rams, you better get it in now because both those teams are at least 7-point favorites. We haven't seen a big Super Bowl spread like that in a long time if Denver was to somehow upset New England this coming Sunday afternoon. All right, coming up next, Sam McQuillan will join us from Legal Sports Report. We'll go over the very latest on the NCAA getting some pushback on their prop bets. You're watching NewsWire on SportsGrid here on this Friday. We'll be right back.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
The Buffalo Bills have to find a new head coach. Take a look at the leaders right now. A 33% chance Brian Dable takes that job. You say, well, why? Wait a second here. He's the head coach of the New York Giants. Did you know he came from the Buffalo Bills and basically resurrected Josh Allen on that MVP trajectory while he was with the Buffalo Bills? Clay Kubiak, Joe Brady, Davis Webb, all offensive guys, which I agree with.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The outlines for Koepka are fantastic. I think it's perfect. It is punitive, but it's fair. You've got to levy some sort of fine, so to speak, for defecting, and I think they've done a wonderful job of being equitable and punishing him a bit at the same time. I think Brooks ultimately wants to be playing with the best.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
This is the fear that we had going on. And the players obviously were paid $10,000 to $30,000 per fix. But what this does is it hits at the core of the identity in the sport, especially in the modern day betting era.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Hey, great to have Sam McQuillan back in the house here on NewsWire. Feels like everybody we're bringing on today and all of our crew who are based up north are getting ready for this big snowstorm of sorts here. Now, I'm not used to this sort of thing, Sam, but I would tell you that while it does seem like an incoming nightmare to some degree, it will give you some more time to write some great columns for us that we can talk about next week here on NewsWire.
Yes, quite a gift, the snowstorm, and a very subtle flex by you that you're down in Miami where it's nice and warm. So congrats on that, Craig.
Oh, just saying. Just saying. Sunny outside, not bad. Tennessee's supposed to get some crazy storm too, right? Tennessee also as well, but that's not what we're focused on, Sam and I. We're talking about maybe potentially facing a college campus ban betting on sports. Naturally, you would think to yourself, okay, well, does this involve 18-year-olds? Yes. Does it involve 21-year-olds? Yes, too. And I think, Sam, that's part of the dynamic where if you're 21 years old, man, it seems like this is going to be a hard thing to push through. But if it does, it would be the first of its kind.
Yeah, if you're 18, if you're 19, if you're 20, 21, 22, 23, that's effectively what these two bills that were proposed in Tennessee would ban all kinds of legal sports betting from college campuses. In Tennessee, these two bills were introduced in the legislature this week as lawmakers came back to decide on laws, which come about a week after we had that huge FBI indictment, which named about 39 players at 17 different Division I men's college basketball programs in this wide-sweeping point-shaving scandal where first half unders were targeted, where there was the Chinese Basketball Association was involved, where you had this group of mafia-linked alleged bad doers bribing these student athletes up to $30,000 in some cases. We're now seeing the reaction to all of these huge scandals in this form. I would say this is probably the biggest thing we've seen yet. It would be on an entire college campus in Tennessee. You can't have sports betting. That means that the campuses would be forced on their Wi-Fi networks to block access to legal sports books. So not only would the sports books have to comply with this rule, it would even extend as far as a mile radius off campus or at, let's say like, I'm in New York, for example. St. John's plays at MSG. Obviously this is a Tennessee scenario, but in this instance, for the entire day, I would not be able to bet at Madison Square Garden because a college game is happening there. So it's a very, very wide sweeping ban. Something obviously the legal sports books would not like to have happen. If I pull my crystal ball out, I would say because of that I don't think this will happen in its entirety. What could end up happening is these bills get, whittled down a bit and you see some other form or restriction passed. Obviously, we've seen a lot of other states try to take some sort of action to combat this as well. I would just kind of, if you're banning the legal sports books from campuses and colleges, you're not banning the offshore sports books, the illegal websites that people can access. In some cases, prediction markets, which states have tried to get out of their states entirely, those will still all be there. So if you're going to ban legal sports betting, you have to make sure you're also enforcing the illegal sports betting, which I would argue is even worse, because in the case of all these scandals, that's how these things were caught. They were all, whether it was a smart move or bad move, these bad actors allegedly placed these bets on legal sports books. So that's how they were caught. If they're not available on college campuses, I know college kids find a lot of ways to get things that they can't access legally on campus. So I would just kind of urge lawmakers to keep that in mind as well. But we'll definitely see how this keeps progressing throughout what should be a really interesting legislative cycle.
Well, if there's any pushback there, maybe the indicator would be our next topic of discussion, where the NCAA, Charlie Baker, the president, decided to say, hey, you folks in the state of Missouri, you cannot have prop bets on our athletes, maybe getting rid of unders in the first half. But it seems as though that's a losing battle, at least for now, Sam, which tells us that as strong and as, I would say, outspoken as the NCAA is against sports betting, there's just too much money, it would appear, at stake. And so Missouri, the first state to say no. And is there even a fight for Charlie Baker anywhere else after this?
Yeah, the irony of this whole thing is really just incredible. Like the actual lawsuit that got overturned to basically allow sports betting in states is the NCAA versus Murphy, who was the governor of New Jersey. So the NCAA was suing to stop New Jersey from legalizing sports betting. They changed their tune once they realized they could get a lot of money from it. It was something they couldn't stop. But now with all these scandals happening, Charlie Baker has been, over the past year or so, really banging the drum, urging states to ban player props. We've seen states like Vermont comply with this, Ohio comply with this. And now his latest form of basically asking states and sports books to, take more steps to regulate this stuff and kind of, safeguard integrity is asking states to ban betting on first half unders, which, is no coincidence that is really the huge bets that we saw mentioned in this FBI indictment. There is a lot of kind of conversation out there in the sports betting world, whether you should be able to bet on things like that, whether you should even be able to bet on a player's underperformance, things that are manipulated by one player very easily. It's very easily at the end of a half to just, stop scoring. I think that was kind of the case that was outlined in the FBI indictments that were unsealed last week. But so far already, you have one state saying we're actually not going to do that. And the reason isn't so cut and dry in terms of they disagree with him. It's Missouri only legalized sports betting in December. It's only when it launched. So it's only been about a month, almost 2 months of its legal market. Under the Missouri's law, the state has to respond within a week to any request like this. So because they only had 7 days to look at this, they came back and said, they voted 3-0. We're not going to ban first half unders, but they did say we'll look at it at a later date. We'll examine this. We'll take time to see what other states have done. We need to, weigh all these factors, how it's going to impact tax revenue. So essentially, they aren't saying we disagree. They're just saying, whoa, we just legalized sports betting. It's, we're rewriting the law already. But, with the pace of all these scandals and the way things keep changing in this crazy world, that might just kind of be the status quo now, where states just continually need to change and re-regulate. And I think that will, end up with regulators having more power. Again, it's something we kind of always talk about in the industry is, the sports books don't want people to police them. They don't want people to come back with laws to regulate and further ban them. The sports books should be really out in front trying to make sure this kind of stuff doesn't happen. And if it does, they're flagging it. But it could be a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. When they flag it, it's bad headlines anyway. And obviously, lawmakers want to run with that. So we'll see if more states adopt it or not.
Yeah, it's a fair point by you. All right, let's end here with prediction markets. We couldn't get out of one discussion with Sam without discussion on prediction markets. So here we go. The CFTC says they're going to take a close look at prediction markets. The first time we've really ever heard this before. And so it's one step toward the unknown. I don't necessarily think that this may mean anything in the end, but once they open up Pandora's box here to investigate, and we see some of the pushback coming from a lot of states with the cease and desist, I mean, I'm not going to say that prediction markets are coming to an end here anytime soon, but Who knows what the future holds? Not as clear as maybe it was a couple of months ago.
Yeah, I think that's a spot on take, Craig. The news here is a step has been taken, but you have no idea what the heck that step is going to look like. The new chair of the CFTC, who was only confirmed in December, remember the CFTC went almost an entire year without any real leadership, without any seats filled, understaffed, underfunded. You had the NBA, the MLB, NFL pleading, asking, urging for them to make rules around these crazy sports prediction markets we have, which are able to self-certify with new markets and offer things on the transfer portal, offer crazy markets that are not allowed in sports books. The CFTC chair, Michael Seelig, finally came out in an op-ed this week saying, we are going to create new regulations and new rules for all of the things under the CFTC's jurisdiction. That's all these burgeoning financial products, not just prediction markets, but obviously that includes sports prediction markets as well. He called it a future-proof initiative that'll unfold in the coming days, whether or not the coming days means next week or next year. Who knows with that, but it is a step in the direction of maybe we will finally have some clarity around these rules, where, as you mentioned, Craig, tons of states are suing to stop this. Tons of states have lobbied the CFTC to stop this. So the CFTC is kind of finally opening their eyes, saying, okay, we're going to do something. Now we'll have to wait and see what that is.
Well, we'll see, Sam. Sam, have a great weekend. Keep the shovel handy. We'll talk again next week.
Thanks. You too, Craig.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
The Buffalo Bills have to find a new head coach. Take a look at the leaders right now. A 33% chance Brian Dable takes that job. You say, well, why? Wait a second here. He's head coach of the New York Giants. Did you know he came from the Buffalo Bills and basically resurrected Josh Allen on that MVP trajectory while he was with the Buffalo Bills? Clay Kubiak, Joe Brady, Davis Webb, all offensive guys, which I agree with.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The outline for Koepka are fantastic. I think it's perfect. It is punitive, but it's fair. You've got to levy some sort of fine, so to speak, for defecting, and I think they've done a wonderful job of being equitable and punishing him a bit at the same time. I think Brooks ultimately wants to be playing with the best.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
This is the fear that we had going on. And the players obviously were paid $10,000 to $30,000 per fix. But what this does is it hits at the core of the identity in the sport, especially in the modern day betting era.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. We got John Lafayette here on this Friday from The Measure with the latest in sports media and maybe a little future tip on some news as well. John, thanks for coming here on NewsWire here on this Friday. And let's get started here with the National Football League owner Robert Kraft in the news this week. Not for his Patriots getting to the AFC Championship, but in an interview that he conducted, he may have let out a little information that nobody wanted. And John, specifically to that is the potential that maybe, I don't know if all the owners, but it would seem like the majority of the owners are interested in maybe, as we've heard, expanding the National Football League regular season.
Yep, the owners want to get to 18 games. The more games, the more money. It's pretty good, and the NFL has never been more powerful. Yet 45 million people tuning in to last week's playoff games between the Bears, with the Bears and the Rams. And people want more football, and the owners want more money. So getting more games is a good way to get more money. The proposal would be to get rid of a preseason game and add a regular season game. And at the same time, they want each team to play one overseas game. The beauty of that would be to spread out the NFL brand over international marketplaces, but at the same time, it would be able to create a TV package of international games, and that would be interesting to the streamers that have global reach. Your YouTubes, your Netflixes, and your Amazons could all be single point distributors for all of these new games, and that would create an entirely new source of revenue for the league, a package that would be worth billions of dollars potentially, because the audience of that would be worldwide. So that's the only obstacle, of course, is the union. Historically, the owners have really gotten pretty much anything they want out of the union. The upside is if there's more revenue for the league, there's more revenue for the players, and that would make it saleable. So they may have objections. Certainly there's more risk of injury the longer the season goes. But, these guys, their careers are short. The money is good. Money would be better. So I wouldn't bet against the league expanding sooner rather than later.
Yeah, we'll see. And certainly the health of the players has to be considered also. It's been every year getting tougher and tougher with these injuries, bigger, faster, stronger players in the National Football League. Meanwhile, Major League Baseball, the big news last week, John, as you know, here on the show, is the team that won the World Series just keeps on getting better. They signed Kyle Tucker to a mini contract here, which allows him to sort of test the waters in a couple of years if he wants to. Some deferred money, which the Dodgers are also being famously popular for doing it as well. So all signs pointing up for LA, the World Series champs getting better, but it certainly has caught the eye of everybody else involved, wondering when is enough. And for the Dodgers, it just doesn't ever seem to be.
Yeah, the Dodgers have the top payroll in the league by far. And then they somehow managed to sign another player to a $240 million deal with Kyle Tucker. The other owners, jealous, angry, feel their bank accounts going down. And so the urge is getting stronger and stronger for them to militate for a salary cap. Historically, that's been a red line for the union. Something that they're willing to go out and not play over, willing to sacrifice some of their pay. So if the owners remain adamant that they're going to get that they want this salary cap, it's going to cause a lockout probably at the end of the 2026 season. And unlike the NFL situation where revenues would probably be going up, there's nothing like a work stoppage to turn off fans and to lower revenue. So that's less money going around for everybody, certainly in the short term. So this is a cost control measure, which may or may not work, as opposed to the NFL, which is looking at a way to increase revenues. So, this isn't a good thing for anybody. The players say, why should we be the ones that rein in owners who want to win? If you want to win and you want to sign a Kyle Tucker, you want another World Series, beautiful for the Dodgers. If you're the Pirates, you're the Rays, you're the White Sox, and you don't want to spend, well, that's on you.
Certainly baseball would almost have to incorporate some sort of salary floor if there was a salary cap, and maybe that could be the game changer for some collective bargaining agreement to come through before all of this would happen at the end of this season. Meanwhile, baseball is gearing up to return baseball to NBC Sports. They'll be carrying Sunday Night Baseball moving forward. We know that the NBA is back on NBC as well. It's been a banner 6 months, 12 months for them, John, and I think it'll be something very interesting to see as they start to develop their programming and also start naming some of the talent that will be involved in the broadcast.
Yeah, we saw that they're bringing back Bob Costas, who is sort of synonymous with baseball in the good old days. Having baseball is going to give the NBC the ability to have Sunday night sports all year round, which is important for them to be able to train viewers to know where to go. And it's going to be, putting it on the broadcast network has been good for ratings for the NFL. That's traditionally the highest rated game of the week, Sunday night. NBA ratings are up now that they're on a regular broadcast channel on a regular basis. And baseball will probably get the same shot in the arm from having a regular season game every on broadcast every single week. So that would be good for baseball, which is looking to figure out exactly how to deal with their television revenues. They're all going to come up at the end of the 28 season, and this will be a good test for whether or not broadcast is good for baseball.
Well, John, have a good weekend. Thanks again for coming on NewsWire. Appreciate the info and the topics. We'll chat again next week. Thanks again.
Great to talk to you. Have a good weekend.
All right, John Lafayette from The Measure joining us here on NewsWire. Coming up next, we check in with Brady Cannon as he sits down with our buddy Dustin Gawker from Closing Line Consulting and also his great Substack. Interesting conversation with Brady and Dustin, exactly how Dustin got into this business. About 10 years ago is where he really started to find his footprint in it. But we'll do that in a second. First, hey, a reminder this weekend, if you're going to be doing any live betting this weekend on props, games, anything else, here's what you want to do. Watch us and get some tips as well and some info, if you can, by downloading the SportsGrid app. It's free. Just take out your iPhone or Android and scan that QR code, and you're all set for the weekend. Streaming 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It is the SportsGrid app, and it is arguably the most popular Sunday of football outside of the Super Bowl in the entire calendar year. It's this Sunday. Make sure you check it out. We'll be back after this with Brady sitting down with Dustin Gawker on this edition of NewsWire. Don't go away.
.7% chance of winning a PGA Tour major, would I be wrong by saying I want to invest in the no on Scotty Scheffler? And that $100 investment would pay back $213 here. Everybody thinks Scotty's going to win. It's like 100 golfers in those fields each and every week in the majors, the best golfers in the world. I'm going against the grain, Joe. Give me the no on Scotty Scheffler.
Prediction Markets Edge. Only on SportsGrid.
I'll tell you what, guys. The insider scam is like the best insider scam in the business of, like, in the history of television. They don't know anything until their phone gets the text message in which the deal is done, right? We saw this with Quinn Hughes. We were told, he wants to play with his brothers. He wants to play with his brothers. Now they're saying that he wanted to be traded to Detroit. In other words, just say you don't know.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Memphis is shopping John Morant. Yeah, no kidding. They should have shopped him 2 years ago and got rid of him. The problem is, where does he go? Like, what team is going to sit there and deal with a dude who, A, has not been healthy or reliable both on the court or off the court? Like, who's trading for John Morant here, Coach?
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Buy or sell. Tua has made his last start for the Dolphins. Feels like Sam went easy on this one.
If I could be that crazy guy, was it Jim Cramer? Buy. Yeah, there's no way he's playing for the Dolphins again. After he said that statement, there was no way in hell anyway. But once again, new coach, new GM. I don't know how they're going to do the cap hit. It's massive.
Fantasy Sports Today. Only on SportsGrid.
Dustin Gawker appears with us each and every week talking prediction markets. He was involved many years ago, very early on, in writing about the surge in daily fantasy, and then took his talents to more talk about the legality of sports betting. And he worked for Legal Sports Report for many years as well, and would appear with us on the show as well. And now he still does, and he does it with his own company. We are going to check in with him and discuss this We'll be
Welcome
right back.
back, ladies and gentlemen, to Inside G2E. Brady Cannon here with you on SportsGrid as we continue our coverage here live from the Venetian Expo Center in fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada, G2E 2025. And we keep running across fascinating people in this fascinating industry. Our latest guest to join us, Dustin Gauker. He is the founder of The Closing Line. He's a journalist. He's a writer. He's been all over the place as far as social media, the print media. You may know him. He's been around for over a decade covering this industry. Dustin, thank you so much for joining us.
Cheers. Thanks so much for having me.
So tell me, I've been familiar with your work for a while now. Like I said, we were talking here before we came on air about I've seen some of your work online. You do some newsletters. Give me the scoop.
Yeah, I mean, I started off as a journalist. I went to school for journalism. I worked at the Washington Post out of school, worked at newspapers for a long time, and then one day started working in online gambling industry. 2015 was part of a team that started covering the rise of daily fantasy sports. DraftKings, FanDuel, when they were getting really big, pre-sports betting, worked on a site called Legal Sports Report, which still does a relationship with SportsGrid, but started doing that, and I covered that industry as it kind of exploded. Sports betting came a few years later in 2018, started covering that. I was at the Supreme Court actually covering the case that ended up giving us legal sports betting. Worked my way up a company there that did affiliate marketing and news content. Was a VP of content, left about 3 years ago. Didn't know what I was going to do. Started a newsletter kind of as a side project. I thought it was just going to be a personal blog. In the last year, I've started doing it daily. I write every day. I'm trying to write here. I'm not succeeding all the time, but I write all the time about what's going on, mostly in just on online gambling in the United States here, everything that's going on around that. I aggregate news in the world. I give my takes on what's happening in the news. Sometimes I break news. This year, the prediction markets are the big thing, too. I started a second newsletter called The Event Horizon, where I just cover granular developments and what's going on legally and regulatorily around prediction markets, Kalshi, Polymarket, things like that. So I didn't have a great plan of where I was going, for better or worse, but I turned the newsletter into a business. It's also a funnel for me to have consulting work. I put my stuff out there. People find me. I'm a thought leader in the space, I think. And I work with lots of different interesting people in consulting, too. I work for the Massachusetts Gaming Commission as a consultant for a year. I work with a lot of startups who are trying to navigate North American space. And I love my job, I love what I do, and I get to work for myself.
What's your best area of expertise where you could maybe really be of value to a company that's looking to start up in some sort of form of gaming?
Again, I've been doing this for 10 years, so I just know a lot of people. Putting my name behind something I think means something. So many times I run across people, I already subscribe to your newsletter. I know who you are, I love your work, and it makes it really easy to do that. So everything under the sun, lead generation for companies, I do. You're trying to navigate the North American space and you're not familiar with it and all the intricacies of what's going on. I can be an advisor and help you navigate that. Again, Massachusetts Gaming, I work with regulators both on, for free and for money, and they contract me to here, we want you to research this topic and tell us more and talk to our commissioners about this topic. It sounds weird to say anything, but if you find value in what I do and my name and again my experience in the industry,
well, your knowledge,
yeah, and I don't have I try not to limit myself to just one thing. I'm an SEO guy too. I did affiliate marketing through sites that we're doing a lot of business for online sports books and online casinos here in the United States, and I can do that too. I obviously build my own newsletters, but somebody needs help with building a content strategy, I can do that too.
Yeah, it is really fascinating, and I had forgotten about that. When asking what's the hot topic, that's definitely one of them. And I've seen some comments from some operators. In your opinion, is this going to affect regulated legal sports books? Are the prediction markets going to impact that quickly?
Quickly, I don't think so. I think there is going to be some erosion in current states where there is sports betting, but it's a different product and not as good of a product in a state like New Jersey or even Nevada, where you have online betting through sports books.
Well, where can we scramble and find your newsletter, The Closing Line? Is it theclosingline.com?
I work on Substack, which is specifically for newsletters. So closingline.substack.com, daily newsletter. I do a little bit of podcasting too. Yeah, you can find me there. I'm on Twitter, Dustin Gauker, LinkedIn, all those things.
Very good. All of the above. Dustin Gauker, he is the CEO and founder of The Closing Line. Check him out, theclosingline.substack.com. You can subscribe and get his twice.
37% chance of winning a PGA Tour major, would I be wrong by saying I want to invest in the no on Scotty Scheffler? And that $100 investment would pay back $213 here. Everybody thinks Scotty's going to win. It's like 100 golfers in those fields each and every week, and the major's the best golfers in the world. I'm going against the grain, Joe. Give me the no on Scotty Scheffler.
Prediction Markets Edge. Only on SportsGrid.
I'll tell you what, guys. The insider scam is like the best insider scam in the business of, like, in the history of television. They don't know anything until their phone gets the text message in which the deal is done, right? We saw this with Quinn Hughes. We were told, oh, he wants to play with his brothers. He wants to play with his brothers. Now they're saying that he wanted to be traded to Detroit. In other words, just say you don't know.
In-game live only on SportsGrid.
Memphis is shopping John Morant. Yeah, no kidding. They should have shopped him 2 years ago and got rid of him. The problem is, where does he go? Like, what team is going to sit there and deal with a dude who, A, has not been healthy or reliable both on the court or off the court? Like, who's trading for John Morant here, Coach?
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Buy or sell. Tua has made his last start for the Dolphins. Feels like Sam went easy on this one.
If I could be that crazy guy, was it Jim Cramer? Buy. Yeah, there's no way he's playing for the Dolphins again. After he said that statement, there was no way in hell anyway. But once again, new coach, new GM. I don't know how they're going to do the cap hit. It's massive.
Fantasy Sports Today. Only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Top of the hour, we check in with Coach Young on tonight's NBA games, also recap some games from yesterday. And, of course, you can catch pro basketball today every Tuesday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern exclusively here on SportsGrid. Coach JY, great to have you back here on the show. Thanks for coming on. And what would an appearance be without talking about Los Angeles basketball? But it's the Clippers that we get to begin with here today. The Clippers are red hot, Coach. What happened here? A couple of months ago, it was, Kawhi's career is over. James Harden, what are they doing? Who is going to replace Ty Lue? All of a sudden now, this is the team nobody wants to play in the NBA.
They really are, Craig, and they, obviously a 114-104 win. Listen, Kawhi Leonard is playing now, again, like a top 10 player in the world. James Harden is still defying father time, and it took a little bit of time for guys to kind of adjust to their roles. John Collins coming over, obviously Brook Lopez coming off the bench. Tyler's one of the top 5 coaches in the game, Craig. And I said before the season, I like this team to win that Pacific Division. Now, obviously, they're off to a cold start to start the year, but they're playing really good basketball. And I'll say, Craig, this is a team with their championship pedigree. Think about the guys that have won, titles in the past. Lopez has won a title. Ty Lue has won a title, right? James Harden, he doesn't have success. Kawhi has won a title. So these guys have won titles. You don't want to see them in the playoffs if they can stay healthy. So good job by the Clippers now, really getting themselves out of a funk. Right now, they are the 10 seed. But to me, what I would look for them is just try to get to 8, which gives you 2 opportunities to make the playoffs. But if I'm Oklahoma City or San Antonio, I don't want them anywhere near me.
Yeah, barely getting plus money, by the way, to make the playoffs at this point. All foregone conclusion, they're getting close. Plus 102 on FanDuel. The play-in, they'll reach that at minus 650 as well. That could be their destiny. We'll see. But Coach does bring up a good point regarding that. Meanwhile, some peculiar stuff going on with LeBron James. Apparently, Jenny Buss involved in a conversation, sort of alluding to some ideas, no longer, heavily, still, let's be honest, heavily involved with the Lakers, but nowhere to the degree that she was before, discussing LeBron James and sort of, the idea that maybe they didn't get along in particular when they brought him in, etc. Now, of course, anything like this is going to get asked, and LeBron was asked about this potential discourse after the game last night.
Quite frankly, I don't really get involved in that or the reports or whatever the case may be. I've seen a lot of it, obviously, but I don't really care about the reports, to be honest. I mean, you guys know me. You guys know since I've been here, my 8th year here, been in this league 23 years. There's going to be another article tomorrow. Yeah, so I mean, we don't know, and I don't really get involved into. It's disrespectful to these guys if I start talking about what the deadline and what we need to do and what we got to get better, whatever the case may be. I don't try not to play fantasy basketball too much.
Yeah, fantasy basketball would be a pretty good trade right about now for LeBron to go somewhere else. And I know this is going to come up, as it has come up every offseason and every year. But I don't know. Is this, Coach, it feels like much ado about nothing at this point. Jeannie Buss is not going to be able to trade LeBron anymore, maybe like she would have in the past. Incredible run for her, by the way, stepping in for her father for a long period of time. And don't know why, by the way, this came up too. I guess it just is about making headlines these days.
It could start last year. He didn't get the extension. I think he is plotting his way out of LA. It is obvious that it's Luka Doncic's team. I know Jeannie Buss is not the principal owner. They sold the team last year. But since LeBron has been back, Craig, they have one of the worst defensive ratings in the NBA. The points per game allowed to small forwards, a position that LeBron James plays, they are dead last in points per game allowed to small forwards. So to me, you have one of two ways, and this kind of goes back to the Rich Paul comment he made about trading Austin Reeves. The Lakers, if they want to make a run this year, have to do one of two things. Number one, trade Austin Reeves. Or two, trade LeBron. Now, if you trade Austin Reeves, that's more of a win now, this year, but you don't give yourself wiggle room because LeBron James is 41 years old. But if you trade LeBron, you get him out of there, maybe goes with a contender. Now you can set yourself up for long-term success. The Lakers are at a point where they're about to be in the middle, which is not contending, not rebuilding. They need to make a swing, take a swing on something. I think it's going to be, shockingly to a lot of people, I think LeBron could be on the move.
All right, we'll find out next month. Meanwhile, destination unknown for the future of the Dallas Mavericks. Just kind of going through a little bit of a lost season, but picking up a win that was really unexpected yesterday. 6.5-point dogs. They beat the Warriors outright, 123-115. And Coach, I think that some games send a signal, and this one in particular may be to the odds makers. I mean, Jimmy Butler's out for the season. And this is just that same Warriors team without Jimmy Butler that we used to see. So I don't know that the Warriors are going to be big favorites in a lot of games moving forward. They have a losing record without him. They have a phenomenal record with him. And wasn't that the story of the Warriors the last few years, hovering a little bit above 500 or below, losing to Dallas last night by 8?
A Dallas team that continues to be up and down, but let's be honest, Craig, winners of 4 games in a row, 7 of their last 10, Cooper Flag continues to ascend. Max Christie giving them minutes. They're playing better basketball without the AD injury. Simply put, they are not the Warriors going to make the playoffs. They're not. I'm going to say right now, because not only you have to deal with that in regards to no Jimmy Butler, too much of the offensive load is being on Steph. Then you got Draymond acting like a knucklehead every time. You don't even know if he's going to make it through the game, whether it's foul outs or getting thrown out. And then there's a situation with Jonathan Kuminga now asking to be traded. Now he goes back into the rotation. That he gets hurt last night in his first game back in the rotation, and they got to resolve that mess. Listen, Craig, it's been a great run for a great organization. I think Jimmy Butler being hurt could be the final nail in the coffin of the Steph Curry, Steve Kerr, Draymond Green era in Golden State.
It could be, very well could be the case. It was last gasp getting Jimmy Butler, and now with him out, I don't know which way they go. All right, the Pistons, again, have been one of the best teams in the East, and especially in the month of January, really haven't lost many games. And the team that they lost to in the last few weeks, only the LA Clippers. They've won every game in the last 10 or 15. Tonight they play the Rockets. They're 3.5-point favorites, total 217.5. Rockets are really good, obviously, as well. Do you have an opinion in this game, Coach?
Yeah, I mean, listen, the Rockets team is trying to find their way. They had some injuries. Obviously, Kevin Durant now 6th place all time in scoring. But to me, this game is going to be won and lost, not by Durant, not by Cade Cunningham, not by either one of the Thompson twins. It's that man, Alperen Şengün in the middle versus Jalen Duren. That guy, look at that. You don't know what I'm talking about. You even got these guys back-to-back in the B-roll. But it's going to come down to the pivot. Which one of those two guys can dominate the other? These are two ascending centers, two of the top young centers in the NBA, not named Victor Wembanyama. Really good matchup tonight. I think I'm going to lean with the Rockets to get the win in the steal because Detroit went to Houston, won in October. I think Houston finds a way to steal it in Detroit tonight.
Denver at Milwaukee, real quick, Coach. Giannis, a lot of rumors surrounding him as well, talking about effort, him saying he's putting in all the effort, the team just simply not winning. Somehow they're 6.5-point favorites tonight. I don't know what I am missing with this line. Total of 18.5. I understand Jokic is out, but Denver has been playing better than Milwaukee. So is like Jamal Murray out of this game too? I don't know. Am I missing something?
Listen, you're not missing the fact that Milwaukee's got to make a decision. And every month they wait, they are losing leverage. They need to move on from Giannis. They're stuck in the middle. They have no one else to trade to bring in to help Giannis right now. The best thing to do, make a trade, get him out of there, recoup, rebuild. The problem is Giannis won't ask out. He's trying to be the good guy. Yeah. He needs to be the bad guy and get up out of there.
Coach, great stuff as always. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, Craig.
JY, Coach Young, joining us here on NewsWire. Coming up next, former Super Bowl champion and NFL MVP Joe Theismann weighs in on this weekend's NFL games. You're watching NewsWire on SportsGrid. We'll be right back.
Sure, you could say the punt block is a key play in the game. It was.
It was.
But the signature play of last night's game is the John Elway-esque diving sideways into the end zone. There's a picture of it right there. To effectively win the national championship. That dude's a baller.
The Craig Carton Show. Only on SportsGrid.
I'll tell you what, guys. The insider scam is like the best insider scam in the business of, like, in the history of television. They don't know anything until their phone gets the text message in which the deal is done, right? We saw this with Quinn Hughes. We were told, he wants to play with his brothers. He wants to play with his brothers. Now they're saying that he wanted to be traded to Detroit. In other words, just say you don't know.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Hold on a second, though. You believe that Mike McDaniel is not head coach caliber?
No.
There's a lot of evidence that says Cliff Kingsbury is not
That's
either.
That's fine that you believe that. But here's the thing. There's
more. Hold on a second.
Hang on. Go ahead.
Mike McDaniel has a better resume than Cliff Kingsbury.
He does on paper, but he's not a locker room guy.
Well, is Cliff?
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
Meanwhile, Charlie Baker of the NCAA has planted his flag. He wants to see the end of prediction markets and, of course, is a little bit nervous with all of the different stories that we've heard surrounding sports betting allegations of some folks being corrupt out there and maybe some point shaving. It does make some sense here. I just wonder which of the sports betting operators are going to stand with the NCAA.
NewsWire. Only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Always such a great pleasure to catch up with Joe Theismann, arguably one of the greatest quarterbacks to me in the history of the NFL, watching football as I did in the 1980s Super Bowl, of course, champion and MVP, and also great analyst on Monday Night Football for many years as well. I missed that, so I thought, let me get a hold of Joe and bring him back here on the show to go over the NFL this week and some coaching stuff as well. Joe, great to catch up with you again. How are you?
Thanks, Craig. Yeah, it is. It's a lot of fun to catch up. There are different people that I've missed spending time with, you being one of them, and love our conversations.
Definitely so. So, Joe, before we get into the games this weekend, because I definitely want your opinion and analysis on that, certainly this is a unprecedented year for coaching in the National Football League too, with so much turnover, so many coaches, Joe, losing their jobs like we've never seen before, and then arguably getting rehired in other places too. What do you make of such turnover in the NFL this year?
I think you can almost go team by team, and Cleveland has struggled. Although Kevin Stefanski was Coach of the Year 2 times during his tenure. John Harbaugh, incredible job. Mike Tomlin, incredible job. It almost was, if you won, you would stay. If you lost, you would go. Now, in so many instances, there really isn't any rhyme nor reason. I think, as a matter of fact, in Baltimore, Steve Bisciotti, when he was going to sit down with John Harbaugh, I think they were going to talk about next year. And all of a sudden, I think John made the decision and said, "I'm not gonna come back. I'd like to move on." And of course, Mike did an incredible feat in Pittsburgh. When you take a look at the things that he accomplished there, and then around the league, it all depends on who your quarterback is. To be honest with you, does your quarterback play to a level to keep your job? That's really what you look at around the league.
Yeah, and certainly Sean McDermott's finding out that the quarterback that he had.
That's the most baffling one to me.
Yeah.
I'm a little tired of watching the talking heads on television beat up Josh Allen. If it wasn't for Josh Allen and the things that he did through the course of the year, they would have never been in position like that. We've all had games. I had a Super Bowl, for crying out loud. Super Bowl 18. I played bad. I just flat played bad, okay? It's not the situation. It's not the ideal situation. You want to wind up not playing good football. In that particular game, I did not play well. Josh made a lot of mistakes in the division championship game. I mean, he just, probably the one at the end of the half was, the fumble was, as you look back, probably the most critical from a time standpoint. What are they doing with that much time left on the clock? And so many questions go around it. But I think that, Buffalo's been that kind of a football team. And I get tired of beating him up. He's still a tremendous quarterback. I mean, he was an MVP of the league a year ago. All of a sudden, you have your bad games. And so, Sean getting fired in Buffalo was a surprise to me.
Yeah, me too. All right. So, Joe, I want to really, the reason why I thought of you this week was because the AFC Championship is coming up, and we have the Patriots and the Broncos, and an unprecedented situation has posed itself this week with a backup quarterback due to injury playing in the AFC Championship game in Jarrett Stidham. And Joe, I wanted your perspective as to what this is going to require from a player who essentially has not played for a couple of years to succeed against a team like the Patriots in the championship game.
I think the most important thing that Jarrett's going to have to do is say it's not all about me. It isn't about me proving that I can play the position. I know I can play the position. He'll be familiar with the offense because he's been in the system. So that won't be an issue from communicating plays. The speed of the game will make a difference. Each level of the playoffs, it gets jacked up just a little bit more. The championship game like this one this weekend gets jacked up a little bit. Super Bowl, a little bit more. Everything's moving faster. All the decisions have to be quicker. That's going to be the hurdle that he's going to have to get over. And I'm sure Sean will put him in a situation where he feels comfortable early. That's another thing. If he gets off and you see a wild throw or a missed throw early, sometimes it takes a little while to reel somebody back. I don't necessarily believe that Sean's just going to start with a running game. I think he's going to be able to let him throw the football a little bit, get his toe in the water, and then move on from there. But certainly it's going to be one of those games where I think, they want to find out what they have. Denver wants to find out exactly what it has as much as New England wants to find out what he can do.
Yeah, I think we're all going to wonder that. I mean, Stidham did have nice games when he was asked to play, but it has been a while since then. And Joe, over in the NFC, real quick to this game here, I mean, certainly the mutual respect I'm sure you have for Matthew Stafford, who's still doing it at this age, is sort of incredible. Almost, amazing. Maybe even the MVP. Maybe. We'll see how it works out. Drake May could end up winning it, but Stafford's had this fantastic season going into Seattle to play on Sunday night in that environment. What do you make of this matchup?
Well, it's not like he hasn't been there before, Craig. That's the most important thing. I had a chance to play the Dallas Cowboys 3 times in a season as we moved towards the playoffs, and championship games and Super Bowls. It's not a question now about scheme or gimmicks. It's a question about mano a mano. The big thing in this football game, can the Los Angeles Rams or the LA Rams, are they going to be able to tackle better in the secondary than they have most of this year? That's where the key to this football game is. If they can't tackle Seattle once they get their hands on the ball, then it's going to be tough for the Rams to beat them.
Last thing, Joe, before you go, certainly your organization that you played for many years, getting ready to open up a new stadium. I've seen some stadium renderings. How do you think things will play out here with the Commanders' new building? It looks like, the very best of any of them that I've seen so far with these renderings.
Certainly the designs are absolutely amazing, but more than just the stadium, it's the location. It's gone back to where old RFK is. They've torn down RFK. They're starting to do the site work there now. So that's exciting. You're going to take the old fans, the people that have gone to that stadium and driven that route so many times, and they're now going to get a chance to drive it again. It isn't just the stadium, too. It's the entire area down there. The Anacostia area is going to get a whole shot in the arm in the Washington, D.C. area. It should be an exciting time. 5 years from now, we'll all get a chance to take a look, see what it looks like.
And I know that you will be out there, no doubt, on the first game of the Washington Commanders' new stadium. Joe, always great to catch up with you. My best to you and your family, as always. And I hope that we get a chance to do it again soon. Thanks for coming on.
I look forward to it, Greg. Thank you.
NFL legend Joe Theismann with us, former MVP, Super Bowl champion, and watching Monday Night Football for many, many years. He was my go-to guy for analysis as well. All right, we'll be back with more NewsWire right after this. Make sure you stay on the grid. Don't go away.
Sure, you could say the punt block is a key play in the game. It was.
It was.
But the signature play of last night's game is the John Elway-esque diving sideways into the end zone. There's a picture of it right there. To effectively win the national championship. That dude's a baller.
The Craig Carton Show. Only on SportsGrid.
I'll tell you what, guys. The insider scam is like the best insider scam in the business of, like, in the history of television. They don't know anything until their phone gets the text message in which the deal is done, right? We saw this with Quinn Hughes. We were told, he wants to play with his brothers. He wants to play with his brothers. Now they're saying that he wanted to be traded to Detroit. In other words, just say you don't know.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Hold on a second, though. You believe that Mike McDaniel is not head coach caliber?
No.
There's a lot of evidence that says Cliff Kingsbury is not
That's
either.
fine that you believe that. But here's the thing. There's
more. Hold on a second.
Hang on, go ahead.
Mike McDaniel has a better resume than Cliff Kingsbury.
He does on paper, but he's not a locker room guy.
Well, is Cliff?
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
Meanwhile, Charlie Baker of the NCAA has planted his flag. He wants to see the end of prediction markets, and of course is a little bit nervous with all of the different stories that we've heard surrounding sports betting allegations of some folks being corrupt out there and maybe some point shaving. It does make some sense here. I just wonder which of the sports betting operators are going to stand with the NCAA.
NewsWire. Only on SportsGrid.
And welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Before we get to some last licks, one quick note from Major League Baseball. ESPN reports another free agent signing. This is relief pitcher Sir Anthony Dominguez. According to ESPN, 2 years, $20 million signing with the Chicago White Sox. Will pitch the late innings for them. Naturally, the White Sox just shed some salary this past week by trading Luis Robert, the outfielder, to the Mets. And naturally, this opened up some funds, it would appear. And so Dominguez now joins the White Sox. All right, we say farewell to Fernando Mendoza's college career. He makes an appearance on late night television. Also, the Seattle Seahawks had fans buzzing as to who their 12th man would be this weekend. And also, Major League Baseball decides to change things up a little bit with their caps this season. Time now for some last licks. All right, we'll start off with Fernando Mendoza, who made and is making the rounds in the media after capturing a national championship. Last night, Mendoza appeared on Late Night with Jimmy Fallon and was asked to participate in a drill, but this drill was about breaking records. Interestingly enough, it was actual vinyl records that Mendoza broke. In fact, they threw records up in the air. Mendoza was asked to take a football and smash the records as they were in the air, and it looked like he did a pretty good job, by the way. Very accurate, I would say. Also, Mendoza announced his intention to go to the NFL today as well, very funnily enough, on LinkedIn. Said that he was open for work. So Mendoza seemingly has a pretty good personality. I know he's been very vanilla in a lot of his interviews, both pre and post game and even after the national championship game, but maybe some personality stuff is coming out with Mendoza. He will probably be the number 1 overall pick, I would guess, in the upcoming NFL draft, which we'll have covered for you here on SportsGrid. Meanwhile, Seattle Seahawks fans all week long were wondering, who would it be? Who would raise the banner of the 12th man at Lumen Field this week? And so we were wondering, too, over the last couple of days, who could it potentially be? Would it be somebody from their championship days? Would it be somebody even before that, somebody more current? Well, 15 minutes ago, that's right, breaking news here on social media, the Seahawks announced that Cam Chancellor from the Legion of Boom will be the one that raises the banner Sunday night at Lumen Field. Of course, Cam Chancellor and Earl Thomas and Richard Sherman and many others, a big part of that Seattle defense that ended up capturing a Super Bowl for them and then coming close at another one, by the way, that they lost. So there's your answer. Cam Chancellor, look for him Sunday night when they play in the NFC Championship to raise the 12th man banner in Seattle. Finally, Major League Baseball yesterday follows a trend that seems to be popping all over, and I don't get this one at all, by the way. This is one that's sort of escaped me. Maybe I'm missing the point here. So New Era caps have been posted. You can buy these, of course, on Major League Baseball's website. And I guess the in thing to do these days, I don't understand it and I don't get it, is to buy caps of sports teams with the logos upside down. I don't know. This one has just gotten by me. I guess that's the cool thing to do. So this is their latest release. As you could see, now naturally everyone's going to be looking at the popular ones, the Dodgers, the Mets, the Phillies, etc., and buying upside down logos of caps. Now, I get it. Sometimes these things are embraced and sometimes they're panned. I would just say I get it. This is what the kids like, and I understand it. But a lot of times, I got to tell you, I'm watching on TV and I think I'm looking at something that is wrong. Like the video is wrong because I see these backwards names and backwards upside down caps. But there you go. Logos for New Era coming to a store near you, online, most likely, MLB store. You can purchase them, I guess, in person in New York if you want to avoid the snow at the MLB store in the city this weekend. Okay, but I don't have to worry about that being here in South Florida. What I do have to worry about is I got to get out of here in a couple of minutes because I'll be right back here with you at 3 o'clock Eastern for our next edition of Fantasy Sports Today, our last multi-game fantasy sports today for the NFL this season, me and George Kurtz. So make sure you stay on the grid for that. That's coming up in 90 minutes from now. Thanks to our guests here on the program. Great job, as always, by Coach James Young, Sam McQuillan of Legal Sports Report, John Lafayette of The Measure, and also thanks to Joe Theismann, former Super Bowl winning quarterback and MVP. It was great to catch up with Joe as well. A reminder, we're right back here with you. Our next edition of NewsWire is Monday at 12 o'clock Eastern, and we will know exactly who is in the Super Bowl. How exciting. So we have 2 weeks of full coverage here on SportsGrid and of NewsWire, getting you ready for the big game. We'll see if we can get some former NFL stars and players who participated in the game. We'll have our very own little Radio Row maybe here on NewsWire as well. Stay on the grid for that. Until then, enjoy your weekend. Enjoy the final Sunday of the NFL season with multiple games. It should be a fun one, a little bittersweet as well. Thanks again to our director, Luke. For my producer, Frank, I'm Craig Mish. Have a great weekend, everyone. If you're in the Northeast or even in the Southeast, stay away from that snow. Stay indoors. Don't get involved. I'll see you back here Monday for our next edition of NewsWire.